Hi, it's Marilyn Price with the Mentor Project. Welcome to my space where things happen. Today we're going to go on a long trip, so I am hoping that you have your seatbelt handy. So we're going to fly around the world meeting different puppets from different countries. I'll explain just a little bit about them. We're going to end up with a story told with me and a puppet I just found when I was out of town visiting a lovely community. But I'll tell you about that later. For now, if you look right behind me, you're going to see some representatives of puppets, shadow puppets actually, from the Asian countries, so which are very famous for shadow puppets. I am going to leave them where they are, except if you look very carefully, you can see when I lift up this character here, you can see the shadow behind. Because it is translucent, you would also see a color shadow. She also, excuse me, he, I think, has a rod, which makes him not only a shadow puppet, but a rod puppet as well, of one of the five different kinds. And I want you to look very carefully. You'll see that he is riding some sort of a dragon, and he seems to be in charge. And over here we have snakes, kind of guy you wouldn't want to meet walking down the street. Over here we have another character, also from that part of the world, which is also a shadow puppet. You can look very carefully at him as well. He looks to be equally scary, not quite as translucent. So if you did a shadow show with him, you would get the black outline and not the beautiful colors. Those are puppets from all the way on the other side of the world, and they were undoubtedly created for religious purposes, which in the early puppet world is exactly what happened. Now, before we come back to let me just briefly take you to a country named Germany, where they use puppets as well. So how did I get them? Did I travel there? No, these were given to me by a librarian in Wisconsin who found them in the back or in the place where they store things, the storeroom. And she said, the next time a puppeteer comes traipsing through town, I'm going to give them to her. So this is a very scary wolf. If you look carefully at him, he's called a mouth puppet because the only thing he moves is his mouth. And he is not scary. He has no front teeth. And he is made of wood here and cloth here. And I've used him in a couple of stories. And he also can do this. Can anybody out there wiggle their ears? He can. Now, when I got this one from my friend, the librarian, she also gave me another one, also with a wooden head. I mean that in the best possible way, and a cloth. So I think he's a huntsman. Are you a huntsman? Do you hunt? You don't hunt wolves, do you? No, that wolf's your friend? Excellent. He has a wooden head and a lovely clothed body. So he can do a lot of things, like even climb a tree, because he's a huntsman, and that's a good place to hide, don't you think? Right. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to go for a journey. Remember I said, oh, I'm sorry, it's my puppet from France. These are called pop-up puppets. Always good to have a officer of the law around, especially hiding in his squad car or his cone car. Up and down. That's it. That's all you can do. You can do this way. You can look to the right. Oh, hello. You can look to the left. He can even look at me. Hi. I'm not afraid, but not afraid because you're here to help me and protect me. Oui, oui, says the French puppet. All right. So what I'm going to do now is turn the camera around. We're going to take a trip around the world. Okay? I hope you're ready because this is going to be fun. And hopefully not something you... Oops. Push the button. The back camera. Oh, there they are. We're not ready to go there yet. We are going to start off in the United States of America, where I make all my puppets. So here is a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. He's called Ben Franklin, and I made Ben. So someday we're going to tell a story about Ben. If you don't know Ben Franklin, that would be such a shame because you should know him. He's very cool. Here is the world that we're going to travel around. Oh, and there's some puppets I made over there, but not today. Today we're going to talk about, say, Ben, because we like to start at home. And Ben would live in a town called Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but he traveled a lot. And then we're going to end up right over here. We have a potpourri. That means a lot of puppets. Let's go that way. Let's start off with this beautiful character. I'm going to move them where they're standing so that I can use all of my hands to talk to you. All right, this is, remember I told you before there was puppets that move their hands? This one is this one. Yay, cool. And she is from Pakistan, I do believe, and she doesn't move much. When I put the camera down, I'll move her for you. Now, over here is two very famous puppet characters, and they were made in England. Now, I want you to look carefully at them. I skipped Wolfie, but I'll be back to him in a minute. There is Mr. Punch, that one, and there is Judy. Now, for purposes of standing them up, Punch looks to be on the downsides of Judy, and that doesn't happen. Judy is definitely the one who takes care of Mr. Punch, and I mean not in the best way. Mr. Punch is very bad. I have never told his story, but very, very popular stories, and it is a political satire, so I don't do those either. I think I do lots of stories about values and things. Oh, now there's Wolfie. Wolfie is from Portugal, and he's made of a beautiful wolf material. Not really, he's not made of wolf, he's made out of wool. So there's a very sweet wolf. I've used him in stories too. Down here is one I have had for a very long time. I'll move him a little bit closer to you. He is a collector's item. Oh my goodness sake. Let me go down here. He is a Stief bear. Those are made in Germany as well. Beautiful soft bear. And they're really hard to find. This is a really funny name. His name is Hand Teddy, which means, I think, that he's a hand puppet and a teddy bear, which is kind of interesting because teddies were named after Theodore Roosevelt, the president, and he was not in Germany, but everyone got to calling those bears teddy bears. All right. Thank you. These are hand puppets, almost all of them. This one is a little bit different. I'll show you that in a second. Now, I am going to go over to this one. I just got her. Found it in a store in my neighborhood. She is, as you can see, a string puppet. She does some really interesting things with her strings. She can lift up her arms and her legs, and she can walk. And she has a beautiful face. And a nice face. She is made also of wood. And I will tell you quite honestly, she's really heavy. Oh, we went to those guys up there. Now I'm going to I'm going to pick up this puppet here. Watch my hand picking it up. And I'm going to take her over here with me, over to my studio. You just got a glimpse of all the crazy, wonderful things I get to do in my studio. And put our camera down here. And then I'm going to turn it back to us. That would be you and me. Oh, hi. There I am. All right, now this is one of my most favorite puppets, and I am constantly having to fix her because she was given to me by a buddy some 35 years ago, and he was down in Mexico on a vacation. And he said, what can I bring my friend Marilyn that she would so enjoy? And of course, it turned out to be a puppet. And I love this puppet. I love a couple things about her. Can you just step up a little, girl? Okay, good. All right, look at those. Those are the best sandals on a puppet ever. And she dances. I think I'll put her on my hand so you can see. She dances. And the strings that move her, oh, she's waving at the same time. Such a clever puppet, right? And she has this great straw hat. And she has been, she's kind of worn. I think Joe told me she cost in American money $3. And she lives a long time. I've restrung her a bunch. She only has 4 strings, a hand string, on the other hand string. And the most important one here is actually called her head string. It's just kind of us two. And the one in the back is called her back string. And if you lift it up like this, by just putting the That's right. The controls forward, like as if I were a puppet. That's exactly what I did. And she bends over to take a bow. And she sits by me putting on her objects so she can sit. And if she wanted to take a siesta, a snooze, she could either fall backwards gently, or sometimes she just likes to put her head down and have a snooze. And then I could wake her up. Whoops! Up she goes. Excellent work. Love this puppet. I like the way she moves. I like the way she. Some Mexican puppets have guns, but my lady, she had tambourines. And even though we don't have them anymore, I know she makes beautiful music, and a lot of kids are really happy. So I am going to put her Senorita puppet over here, and someday we'll use her to tell you a story. A Mexican story from Mexico. And beautiful stories. And we're going to go get a puppet. So I'm going to do this for you one more time, just to reiterate. That would be a fancy word for repeat. Or some of the puppets you've met, starting with right here in America and going to all the Asian countries and to Germany and to France, to Mexico, and we're going to end up all the way up here. That is my most recent find. I'm going to take her down. Get ready, girl. I very much resonate with this puppet because she is a grandma. And I'm going to let you look at her while I get her book, because she's going to, together, we're going to read a story. So let's see if I can get you. That's a good job. Her name is Babushka. Now, for those of you who know what a babushka is, allow me to repeat myself. A babushka is what our friend has on her head. It is a triangle tied under her chin. So I'm going to put me back here, turn me around so that we can tell our story together. There we go. Here you are, Babushka. Can you see her now? Look at that face. Is that a great face or what? I love that face. And I'm going to take this down so we aren't distracted. That's what happens. I don't know if I ever told you this. Puppeteers wear black. Not because it's fashionable, which of course it is, but because the idea of the puppet is the puppet should be more interesting than the person. So that's why we wear black. So we kind of blend into the background, so to speak. Sorry. Rather irresistible remark I could make. And I would like Babushka. So let me introduce you to Babushka. Take her off her water bottle, which is the handiest way to put puppets so you can see them. And let's see. Let's make sure that you can see me. But it's a sunny day, so I'm going to leave the sun up. And this puppet here, should we leave you up or take you down? I think we should take you. At least take. There we go. That was pretty good. One-handed puppet removal. All right. So let me tell you a story. I was out of town. We were meeting a friend for dinner. And we had picked out a restaurant that was right near where we were staying. And we were a little concerned because we were thinking about what would be the right restaurant. So rather than just go into the restaurant without knowing anything about it, there was a market next door. And the market sold goods from this country. The country was Russian food. It was Russian food. I walked in and there was a Ukrainian flag. And I said to myself, that's good. We're in the right kind of place. They had goods from all over. They had teas and they had delis. They had all sorts of really interesting food. And I was out of town, so I didn't buy any food. But as I was turning to leave, sitting there were two of the most interesting things that obviously were put there for me. One was this little girl. I looked in the label and I said to myself, I have no idea what this says because it's not in English. But after looking a little bit, like a lot of product from other countries, they did have an English thing, and it says puppet theater. Oh, I knew that, but I had to read it anyway. They call her a sock puppet, but she's not a sock puppet. No, she's a hand puppet. But you know what? I didn't make it. And that was the little girl. And there is one in our story. the other one, the one that really caught my eye, was Babushka. So here she comes. This is how I hold my puppets. 1, 2 in the middle, and 2 on the side. There she goes. There's Babushka. Excellent Babushka. You look good. Now Babushka is wearing a babushka. That's the name of the scarf. But it is such a common thing for, let's just say grandma types to wear, that they call them babushkas. So this is Babushka, and she is quite a lovely character. I am inviting you to listen to the story that Babushka and I are going to read. So let me make sure that she can. I wanted to show you this book too. So Babushka is going to hold it up for me. So look who wrote it. You and I have done some lovely work with Patricia Polacco's work. A lot of her stuff is very reminiscent of her own life, and this one in particular. So rather than me acting it out, Babushka and I are going to read it to you. It has a great message, especially for some of us. Babushka, would you like to turn the pages for me? Should I stand? Would you like to sit? Excellent. You can't sit, you have to turn the pages. All right. The story is called Babushka's Doll. It goes like this. It wasn't that Natasha was a truly naughty child. She just never understood why she had to wait for things. Babushka, Natasha said, for in Russian, Babushka means grandmother. Please stop doing the laundry and push me in the swing. My darling child, I have to do the laundry first. Would you like to help me? No, I want to swing now. Aren't you finished yet? I want to go for a ride in the goat cart. My precious, I must hang up these clothes while the sun is shining. But the sun will be shining all day. I want to go now, Babushka. Take me. Babushka went to feed the goats. Natasha followed. But I'm hungry too, Babushka. My stomach is making noises and I want to eat now. Don't be selfish, darling. These poor creatures need to be fed. They cannot fix their own lunch. Now I'm finished, and now we will have lunch. She took down a little kettle from a high shelf. Natasha looked up to the shelf where the kettle had been. And there was a little doll she'd never seen before. Is that your doll, Babushka? Yes, dear, it was my doll when I was a little girl like you. Did you play with her all the time? No, my dear, I only played with her once. Only once. I finished my soup now. May I hold the little doll just for a little while? Babushka took the doll down from the high shelf. Yes, it is just the right time for you to play with her, said Babushka. She handed the doll to Natasha. Going to the store for groceries, you may play with the doll until I get back. As soon as the door closed behind Natasha's grandmother, something happened. The little doll began to move. She jumped to her feet and did a little dance, and for a moment, Natasha was a little frightened. But then the doll called, "Come on, Tasha, let's go out and play." Natasha and the doll ran and ran until Natasha could not run anymore. As soon as Natasha sat down to catch her breath, the doll said, "Get up, Tasha. You get up now. I want to play." I'll swing you on the swing," Natasha said. "Whee!" the doll squealed. "Push harder. I want to go higher." Natasha pulled the doll higher and higher, but soon she grew tired. "Don't stop, Tasha," cried the doll. "Don't stop. I want you to swing me higher." "I'll take you for a ride in the goat cart," Natasha said. "Oh, goody," Tasha, the doll chirped. "And don't you slow down. You better keep on going as long as I want. Do you hear me? As long as I want." Soon Natasha couldn't lead the goat cart any longer. "I have to stop," Natasha said. "Need to rest, and I want to eat," said the doll. Poor Natasha was very tired, but she tried her best to make lunch. Natasha's doll spilled the tea. She sloshed the soup from her spoon, and she flung noodles over her head. And then she pounded her fists in the mess and laughed and laughed and laughed. And suddenly she stopped laughing and she started to scream, "My dress, it's all dirty. I want you to wash it. You wash it right now." Natasha washed the little dress and hung it on the line, and then she ironed it. You didn't do it right, said the doll. My dress is all wrinkled. Natasha began to cry. I'm just a little girl, she said between sobs. I wish you were just a doll. My darling girl, a voice cried out. Why are you crying, my precious child? Babushka, your little doll came to life and she was very naughty. She wanted me to do all the work. She never let me rest. She made me iron her dress, and I don't even know how I'm just a little girl. There, there. You must have had a bad dream. Maybe, said Natasha. Her grandmother smiled and held Natasha close. From now on, you can play with a little doll whenever you want. Oh, thank you, Babushka. Once is enough. Babushka picked up the little doll and put her back on the high shelf. It looks like you had quite a day, she said softly to the doll. The little doll gave Babushka a wink and went back to being just a doll. And Natasha turned out to be quite nice, after all. Wonderful story by a wonderful author. Thank you for coming on the trip around the world with me. We're going to go back one more time just to see what we could see. I thank you, of course, for coming, but don't leave yet because we have to say goodbye to all the puppets we met from America and our good friend Ben Franklin, who invented so many things, but not puppets, to all the puppets from all over the world. Everybody, every country has a puppet that they use in story. Oh, maybe next time we'll go to Italy. I'm game. If you are, say goodbye to my new friend. Have a great week. A week of being absolutely, positively great. This is Marilyn Price with the Mentor Project. You can catch us on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and you can even catch us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great day. A day of great.